Hello everybody, this is Joseki bringing you another audio commentary. This audio is copywritten 2008 WCReplays.com, so please do not go stealing it. Today I'm going to be bringing you a Human vs. Undead ladder game between me and a Uzbekistanian on the ladder. Yeah, this is a game on Melting Valley, which is one of the new ladder maps. I believe it's also been put into the WC3L, as well as in numerous other leagues. It's a very well done map. I kind of feel like it's just Secret Valley without fountains, but minus fountains is a fine change for me. I'm quite happy with that. It makes my matchup versus Orc better, so I really can't be complaining. It's a really interesting map. It has a Merc camp on both the top and bottom. It has corner expansions and side expansions. It's very easy to expo on, which is probably one of the reasons why I like it so much. Certainly a beneficial map for human overall. All human players should probably have this map thumbs up for similar reasons you'd want to have Secret Valley thumbs up. And this map much more so because there aren't actually any poison creeps on it, so it's a lot easier for you to creep militia. If I haven't already mentioned, 2-minute mark as always, guys. I'm going to be covering a lot of strategies this game. I play a little bit sloppy in the early game because I had been playing so many games. This is probably like my 15th game today. Yeah, I'm recording the audio on the same day I played the game, so I'd remember all of what happened in it and all of what I was thinking. So yeah, I played a little sloppy early, but what I've been doing lately versus Undead is a slight change. While you're hitting at pause, if you'll notice, I'm doing a lumber mill build as opposed to a standard altar barrack farm build. I go altar, lumber mill, farm, barracks, and essentially what this allows me to do is get a larger lumber supply for my expansion. I figure a lot more undeads are going Gargs against me in ladder, which is really an unfun thing to play against, especially with the repair times as they are currently. So the way I've been thinking to counter this is to really try and do a good job with getting a large supply of lumber and getting early guard towers. So by doing a lumber mill build versus undead, you essentially ensure those two things. While not every single undead will be going for a Garg harass or a 2-crypt Garg, that doesn't mean that the build is still bad if they just do something else. It's fine. You're down a footman in the early game, but you make up for it with a very solid base defense and a very solid secure line of peasants. The nice thing about this map in Human vs. Undead is all of the crabs are very easy to creep. I make a pretty bold... this is my first time actually playing vs. Undead on this particular map, so I wasn't really sure what to do, and I wasn't sure how strong the Merc camp was. So I do try and creep it out with, not enough, and I lose some peasants because of it, but ultimately the game still ends up being a really good game. It's, I think, like a 35-minute game or so. Lots of countering, lots of interesting stuff happens. So I'm at the 2-minute mark. I hope you guys are too. We're going to get this audio unpaused in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, unpause. So as you can see, I spawned up here at the top. My opponent spawned at the bottom spawn. My Archmage is going to be coming out, and as you can see, I have a guard tower going up in my main base. I really like having an early guard tower versus Undead in general. It's really helpful because a lot of the time, what I actually do with this build is I do this first guard tower, and then I'll set up a second guard tower before I expo. That way, when you're at your expo, they can't send their ghouls into your main base if they had been killing ghouls early or peasants early, and they want to just murder all your peasants with a huge group of ghouls. They won't be able to do that. So by getting 2 guard towers in your base, you're really securing the fact that there's going to be no conceivable way that they're going to be able to harass you with that many ghouls. I really am pushing for this build lately. I've been doing it actually versus a lot of races, and it's part of a new thing I've been doing. My thinking is, at some point in a game, whether your opponent is better or worse than you, there will be times when you will be at an advantage. There was an Indian WCG player who used to do this versus every race. He would do the lumber mill build with a guard tower versus every single race. And he was by no means a bad player. He obviously wasn't the best, or we'd be hearing about him still. I think he's since retired, but I'm not sure. Regardless, it's if you have a guard tower in your base, it makes it a lot easier for you to expo, which is kind of the whole, you have mass towers, so they can't, do anything to your base, so anything outside of your base they have to stop you from doing. So you just do a normal tech with a lumber mill, you get a lot of lumber, you put up a second guard tower while you're teching, and that essentially just allows you to get a very, very secure base, and then the moment you have some sort of advantage, you kill a bunch of units, you kill a hero, 3 pocket towers expand, boom, done. What that essentially means is the moment you get an advantage, you set up an expo, which will give you a huge advantage immediately in that portion of the game. So it's something I've been experimenting with, and it's just definitely something that's worth testing out for all human players, because it's actually a really interesting strategy. So as I said, I've been playing a little sloppy. He ends up getting the Troll Berserker, which isn't that big of a deal. A lot of big humans get really frustrated when the opponent steals your mercs, but it's not such a big deal unless they're planning some sort of very strong push. The mercs actually don't benefit them nearly as much as they'd benefit you, because you're the one trying to safely secure an expo. It's perfectly acceptable to expo without mercs. I've done it numerous times versus Undead. It's just probably a little trickier. You have to be a bit more careful. So here's something I've changed lately versus Undead. Like, a lot of Undeads will do this thing with the Echo. And up until like this last week, I've actually killed that Echo and then crept, which is like such a horrible bad mistake that I had never actually realized with my play, and it actually given my Undead opponents a lot of leverage in like it had given them like tons of leverage in how they are able to like harass me and attack me, just in that they have like a whole like think if I had killed that Echo and then started creeping, his ghouls would have caught me there in mid creep towards the end when I was finishing up those last 2 creeps. So I think it's really important that you just, when you get your militia going and you're down there, even if they have their Echo there, just go for it. Like creep, creep, creep. So the main thing that I'm trying to do here is trying to not get my AM surrounded, and I'm trying to use my peasants to fight while trying to micro back the ones that are getting hurt. Numerous times I avoid some damage here on my AM, but very successfully I can deal with the issue simply by, like, being wary of what's going on. A lot of the time, you can keep a water elemental. Like, if you have a water elemental up and they go to harass your AM, you can summon the water elemental in front of your AM, and that allows you to, like, make a space in front of your AM to run away if they try and ghoul surround you. Obviously I have some inexperience on this map, and I keep waking up these creeps like an idiot. So, yeah, it's not the best thing in the world, but I did it. So he looks away while he's running, and I end up getting these 2 free ghoul kills. Kind of a mistake on his part, but he does have those Gargs pumping, so I'm gonna have to get something going here right away. As you can see from doing the lumber mill build, I have 800 lumber, and I had like brought militia to my expo, and I have 2 guard towers in my main. Like, I think this build is a lot better on maps that do not have a shredder, just by the fact that you'll end up with a lot more lumber than you normally would at that stage in the game. So I think it's extremely important that this build be considered. I think, like, after I was talking to Vex Marquise about it, just how like the topic originally came back up because I'd been doing it, and then he told me about the WCG India guy, and it's like, it seems really interesting, and from a theoretical standpoint, it's strictly better than a typical build, because all you're actually losing is 2... the only thing you actually lose from doing the build is 1 footman. Everything else stays the same. Your barracks are slightly later, and you have a bit more difficulty creeping early, but other than that, it's pretty much the same exact thing. So, as you can see, 2 Gargs really isn't that impressive, so I'm perfectly able to just hold it off with a water. A lot of the time, if you don't have enough peasants at your base after they harass you and the Gargs show up, you're in a really bad spot. Oh, another great thing about this build, I have 2 guard towers in my base. He can do literally nothing against my base. So it's like, the only thing I ever have to worry about at this point is my expo, and my 2 guard towers just went up, so I have nothing to worry about whatsoever. Like, the build right now is just like positives and positives for me as far as like testing it out goes. Like, I'm not sure if it's actually worthwhile, but it seems very interesting. The Undead right now are going to pick up his Panda. Garg Panda is a pretty difficult strategy to counter early on, because Footman and Panda Garg focus with ghouls and stuff. It's very hard to actually keep any units alive. So, like, Undeads, like, while you're gaining something just by the fact that you're getting that Panda, I don't know if it's even the best for like later in the game. I think a Lich would just be strictly